All right. Okay. So I'm just gonna go with it. So I was playing Versaga the other day, and we kind of joke back and forth about guest parries, right? So my insinuation is that he guest parries, and his insinuation is that I guest parry. I guess insinuation is not the right word. His proclamation. And so I wanted to take a very quick moment to kind of illustrate why I parry sometimes in neutral. And this might be very basic information, but it's easier to illustrate it because I feel like the point's not quite coming across. So I I looked at our set the other day, and I just clipped like maybe the first match, maybe two matches, if that. But there's enough examples to where I can kind of illustrate why I do what I do. So this particular example is going to be Dudley's, it's Dudley and Ken, but this could apply for more characters and more situations. It really just depends on your analysis of it. But I'll have okay, so here's one of the clips, right? So I'll just play it out, and then you can kind of right there. So here's the exchange. It's kind of like neutral game, right? I block the low, and then I pair the high, right? And that's essentially it, right? So in this particular case, it's not a guess pair. Like if you were being very literal, it could be considered a guess, right? Because I'm banking on him going high, right? But aside from that, I feel like it's a very informed guess, right? But broken down, this is the exact scenario, right? All right, so in neutral, block, and then high parry. Okay, very simple. All right. So the one argument is, oh, why do you parry there? It's unnecessary. It's risky, etc. Right? Um, but ultimately, you parry there because it's advantageous to do so. And we'll go over why. But before we do that, I want to illustrate just how often this exact scenario happens to where you can, without even looking at math, you can say, oh, it happens so often that it makes sense to do it, right? Actually, he didn't have Jinrai stocked. He would have needed it to hit. Um, so I guess it could be a Dedo right there. Like if he was, um, I should not have it on follower only. I don't even know if that's the thing. Like um, I don't think so. I don't. So pause, chat filters off. Screen reader auto announce emote. Yeah, no. There's I don't have any. I don't have any options that would. Sorry, Big Dong. I don't know what's going on, but look, Versaga's chatting just fine. So I think it might be you. Um. All right. Anyway, so yeah, you didn't miss too much, Versaga. But this is the first clip, right? So here's the very first instance where you go, oh, this guesser, right? I block low and then I paired high, right? And I was just telling the viewership that this is a very common scenario. So I'm gonna go through all of the clips that I picked out, and I only picked out maybe 5, 6, or 7, somewhere along those lines. But they're all the same situation, and this is within the first like match or two, right? So that was the first one, right? So I'm gonna skip to the next one, right? And here's another one. All right. So if you see right there, right? If you pay attention, you go low, high, right? Low, low, high, right? Again, low, high. So that within the span of 5 seconds, not even. You went low, high 3 times, right? So that's another scenario. I didn't get the parry because we weren't close enough, but I'm illustrating the point that there is a lot of pattern recognition. So here's your wake up guess pair right there. But I don't count that because you're kind of forced to guess, right? But here, let me. So here's another situation. Boop boop boop. Oh. So this one isn't quite it. This is a different illustration to where I tried to red parry, the short, the third short, right? And I missed. But you can see why I should do that there, and why you should not hit that third one. And you know, if the Dudley is very savvy, he might even parry the second one, but probably not. Either way, third shorts, very bad. You should cut that out because you have ample time to consider, or the Dudley has ample time to parry the third one, right? Never do 3 in a row. But that illustrates the point where I went for the parry and it failed, right? Anyway, so here's another clip, right? So here's one. Okay, so in this situation, you went low twice, which is fine. I got hit by the second low, right? So here's one low, here's another low. No problems. And then there's your high, right? So a lot of low highs from you, right? So let me see if I have another one. Alright, so here's another one. Okay, so low, high. You see that? Low, and that could count too, because it's a low into fireball, right? So a lot of low high. Okay, so that wasn't even that's second match. And how many examples of low high have I given you? Right? Is there one more? There's one more. All right, low high. So a lot of lows. Let me see if there's one more. I don't think there's one more. Oh, there's another one. Look at that. Oh. So this one is not as much, but the low high is not there. However, I think I wanted to illustrate. See, that's a guess parry. All right. So, okay. All right. So here, it's just high. But do you? Again, this is only the second match. Do you understand why that's a high parry there? Because I mean, you might say, you might default to the reaction of, "Oh, this fucking guesser," but this is not. This is not a situation where you would apply that criticism. Because if you analyze the scenario a bit closer, you'll see that a high parry is very it was auto-filling to mobile Twitch. Oh. Well, there you go. This situation, I wish I could, but WoW doesn't. There's not enough parallels between WoW and Third Strike to make that happen. But if you don't understand why that's a high parry there, you're gonna have to kind of think about that a little more. I think that's the last. That's the last one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, why do I do it? Well, I've shown you enough examples of your tempo and your decision making to justify it just from pattern recognition alone. A Versaga or Ken's go low and then high. Often enough that I should automatically try to parry high after blocking low or after seeing low, right? Before I even apply math, there's that aspect of pattern recognition. And it's at this point, it's very much ingrained in me, but as you can see, I can explain it to you with very concrete evidence as to why it's ingrained, right? It's ingrained because there's enough examples, enough instances of that scenario, exact timing of it happening so often. Again, not even the end of the second match yet. Oh, sorry. This is the last example is finally from the third match. But you can see that it happens so often that I would be missing opportunity. I would be leaving money on the table if I did not commit to a parry after the first hit, or the first block, or the first tick, right? Alright, so that's the pattern recognition aspect. The other aspect is the title of this stream, which is basic math, right? So if you, I guess we don't need this anymore, but and this is extremely rudimentary, right? But the concept is, if you take a step back and look at that situation from, a bird's eye view, um, and you kind of remove what actually happened and think about what could happen, right? So again, very rudimentary. It's a bit more complex than this if you want to get into the weeds, but the rudimentary example is enough to kind of illustrate the point, right? So you have, instead of, oh, I got it there, I parried it there, you think, well, what could happen, right? So I see the low hit, the low tick, the low button, and then I'm going to commit to a high parry. So what would happen? Well, uh, I'm either wrong, right? I'm either wrong, and you look at it in terms of expected value, and then you kind of average it out, because if you were to look at it just from a mathematical point of view, you have to say, well, 40% of the time it works, 30% of the time it doesn't work, or something like that, and then the other 30% of the time nothing happens. All right, you don't even have to factor in the 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 frequency that it happens. Right now, it's just breaking it down to what happens when you're wrong, and what happens when you're right, and what happens when you're neither wrong nor right. Right. So the simplest way to measure that is by how much health you either lose or inversely gain by making your opponent lose. Right. So if I'm wrong, and it's actually not 20. I feel like 22 is the stand roundhouse. So let's say I ate the stand roundhouse, right? I mistimed the parry, or you delayed it and uh, timed it exactly after I parried, or not exactly after, but after my parry window has disappeared. So if I'm wrong, I'll take 22 damage, right? If I'm right and I do a typical punish, I'll do stand roundhouse into EX machine gun into a jab machine gun into duck upper, right? That gives me 61 damage. And then if nothing happens, let's say you didn't actually press the button, or let's say I parried it and then I went to block and you delayed it so much that I ended up blocking. Well, let's just simplify it and say nothing happens and there's 0. So if you average just these 3 situations out, I will gain 13 health points as a result of that scenario over the long term, right? Over the long term. So whenever I see you go low, I'm going to parry high, and that high parry will net me 13 health points if I were to weight that decision, right? The expected value of that high parry is plus 13, right? Now, going back to the whole frequency thing, this is augmented by the frequency, because technically you're also supposed to multiply. Well, when you're wrong, you take 22 damage, but how often does this happen? Well, let's say you're only wrong 5% of the time, right? And you're right 95% of the time. That would augment this average out. So your expected value would change for the better. If I'm wrong 99% of the time and I'm right 1%, then obviously it would be hugely negative expected value, right? Does that make sense, right? So you can look at these exchanges in that way and think, well, what is the expected value of my decision to do that there, right? So, instead of high parry, what if I say I went for low parry, right? It is just poker all the way down. Like, this game is poker. But you get what I'm saying, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, the parry makes sense. Isn't it would be bad of me not to parry high there, given the frequency, which is the first example of just how many times I showed you that you did that, and then the actual expected value of of what those situations play out as, right? And that's it. That's why it's not guest parry in the way that you think guest pairing is, like that negative implication of, oh, you fucking guesser, like it, you know. I don't know if you saw, but uh, two matches, and I showed you 6 examples over 2 matches. That's a pretty damning sample size uh, for how often it happened. Like if I showed you just one example of it happening over 2 matches, I could understand the whole small sample size argument, but ultimately, um, it happens way too often for me not to parry high there. But you get, uh, as long as you understand where I'm coming from, right? Um, that's all really what I'm trying to illustrate here. Like, there are scenarios where a parry makes more sense than other scenarios. So, in that one example, was this one? Basically, where I high parried, uh, there, right? The only logical thing I should do there is high parry, because if you went low, it's it might not even reach me, right? Because this stand roundhouse moves you forward. A low, like maybe low roundhouse might hit, or I might get clipped, and that's perfectly fine. If I guessed wrong, guess what? You swept me. But because you went high and I got it right, you ended up taking, a shit ton of damage and meter, right? Or again, pressed against the corner. So, um, that's the lesson here. Um, okay, so what if you got high after they go low and they rivered the house? So here's another argument as to why I do high instead of low. And this, you might say, well, that's a little bit of a cop out. So we're playing online, right? Offline, I might not parry high as often, because offline, if you have meter, there's an argument to be made that you can confirm low forward raw and do super. So then that changes my expected value, because then when I'm wrong, it's actually not -22. It might be more, because you're capable of hit confirming a low forward, right? That means that the odds of you going low increase because you know that you can hit confirm a low forward. But because we're online, the high ends up being a lot more common. Because when you go low, I'm not as worried about getting supered right after that. Because, well, when you don't have meter, obviously I'm going to go high more because you can't confirm it anyway. But even if you did have meter, we're playing in long distance connection. I'm not going to expect you to be able to reliably raw hit confirm. It's just not a thing. So that's another uh, reasoning as to why it's a high parry. Have you ever played anyone at a level that seems to transcend patterns, at least on a level that you can detect quickly? I mean, the higher you go, the less people will fall into patterns. There's some patterns that are just intrinsic, and it's not doesn't nobody can escape it, but at least not without a great deal of effort. So there's always a default behavior that you can follow, or there's a default um, just decision that you do first in a set, and then as you observe more, you consciously alter your default state to do something else. So, for instance, if he was cognizant of me blocking low and then high parrying the first time around, he would go, oh shit, he's doing that. I've got to delay my high, or I've got to not go low, or I've got to not press that button at all. Is chat broken? Where is he getting all these questions? You guys don't see the Big Dong's questions? That's really weird. I don't know why there's a separation, but there's a Big Dong chat box. Boop. Does this work? Chat box. Boop. Chat box. Where are you? Okay. Segregating the cool kids from the dungeon cheaters. That's weird. Uh, Maybe it's the chat service. So in the OBS stream window, I can see everybody, but if you look at my stream right now on the oh, why does it tell me to join Twitch? Okay, that's really weird. I tried to chat and it tells me to log in in OBS. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So if you can see, hey FIFA, can you type again? Let me see if it pops up in the chat. He reset in an ad. Okay, refresh. Yeah, okay. So the chat shows all of you guys now. I remember a video of you explaining defending versus Neko that goes over the same stuff. I'm guessing you played tight aggressive. No, I actually I play more loose aggressive than tight aggressive. But it really depends on my mood. So I don't know why. I don't know why Twitch I guess it must mean that I'm still an affiliate and that's why there's ads. Cuz I don't think there's ads for like uh non-affiliate. No, I can't play anymore. I just wanted to do this stream really quickly. And kind of talk it out. If I play again, my eyes will hurt in the morning. So, what's your reason for neutral pairing like you do? Is that because of patterns you have you not been paying attention to what I've been talking about for the past 15, 20 minutes? That's this fucking guy. I see you parry in neutral way more than other strong players. Oh my god. Well, you're just gonna have. I'm not gonna repeat myself entirely. You're just gonna have to rewatch the stream. Um. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's just because you guess doesn't mean I'm guessing. All right. Um. Yeah. Yeah. Great time for me to end the stream so you guys can actually rewatch it. Because the lesson's already over. I mean, it was a very simple, short lesson. So yeah. All right. Well, that was really fun. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube anyway, under the Learn Third Strike. But that's all I've got. So, um, you guys have a lovely night. Thanks for joining. Yeah, the wife is happily asleep, and so's the dog somewhere. All right, have a good night, guys. Bye bye.